just one of those moments where walking with God means that you've now walked directly into a wall of self-discovery, self-reflection, and you're gonna have to get yourself in gear. What I want to talk about today is how to confront your frustration with God. Hey y'all, my name is Shannon Ray. I am a transition coach and a faith-based content creator. I come to you each and every week with stories, reflections about life, love, and everything in between. If you are interested in content like that, you find yourself interested in being a part of a community of others who are trying to uplift themselves and each other, I would suggest you hit that like and subscribe button. I mean, you don't have to, it's really up to you, but don't say I didn't tell you about it when that train starts leaving. You heard it here first. I was trying to keep this between me and you, okay? But now others had to get involved. Let's get right into it. If you were here for the last video, then you know that I've been in this preparation mode, and I feel that we all should be. There is something ahead that is good and worthwhile, something that we've been praying for a long time, but we're at a place where we need to really buckle down, prepare, start to gather our resources so that we are ready for the next adventure, the next chapter, a brand new season, really. And something that I didn't really hit on because I wanted to do more of a deep dive in the discussion of it was that how in preparation I've been dealing with a few different things as well. I really think that no matter what season you're in, you are also experiencing the impact of the season you've left behind. And one of the things that I've been experiencing is dealing with frustration in God's timing. When it comes to faith, I really do understand that God's timing is so much better than ours. God's timing is so much more thoughtful and strategic. It knits together that purpose and impact, not only for yourself, but so many other people attached to you or in the ripple effect of what happens in your life, just like you're in the ripple effect of what happens for others. Being a person who is still in their flesh, I found myself experiencing some frustration. I talked about on the last video and actually several other videos what the experience has been of being in such a continuous transitional phase and how there's a great amount of gratitude that I feel for that because I can now take that experience, that empathy, that understanding and apply it to the clients that I work with and really help those who are seeking coaches like me who can walk with them through these changes in their personal or professional lives. There's a lot of gratitude that I feel around that. But there's also this sense of exhaustion of wanting to get to this place where I start to see a little bit more of the fruit, the proof that the work has been enough. So when I got the word that I needed to prepare more, that I needed to do some things to go ahead, I just felt overwhelmed. It's not that God has done something wrong. It's not that God has done anything to not keep a promise, because we know He's a promise keeper. Not that He's done something to change His mind about what He sees for us, because that is not the way that it goes. Just comes this point where you want to be settled, you want to be steady, you want to feel like the things that you're anchoring yourself to aren't going to continuously shift. But that's just it. That's a part of life. And sometimes, most of the time, I would say I have the flexibility, I have that dexterity, and I also have the hunger to keep running ahead. But what I'm feeling right now is the fatigue. I needed to do something to get my focus back. I needed to do something that would ignite that spark in me again. I needed to do something that would show God that I'm still here, I'm still present, even if I don't love every single aspect of the process, that I still trust Him, that I'm still in, and even though the frustration is there. And you know what He told me to do? Stop. I'm sorry, come again. So this is a conversation, right? It's between you and me. We can talk, right? Just openly, honestly about things. The reason that God told me to stop was because what He was seeing was performative instead of true desire. And what He brought to my recollection was one of the stories that I don't actually spend a lot of time studying or dissecting or even ruminating on. He brought me the story of Jonah. Now, this is no real shade towards Jonah. It's a little shade towards Jonah, but it's all love, right? I barely want to see myself in Jonah. I don't necessarily like to sit in the parts of my life that are like Jonah. What I love so much about the Bible is that there's no perfect figure outside of Jesus. And so you have to know that there are going to be moments where you falter. There are going to be moments where you fall short, but there are never going to be moments where you don't have the opportunity for some redemption. Some point in the past or in the future or right now, it has happened. You have been the one to run from God. You have been the one who didn't want to honor what his word was. You have been the one who has needed to come back to humble themselves, call on God to fix their heart, to change their heart posture, and then do the very thing he told you to do in the first place, but you went all around the world when you could have just went straight across. But that's how we do. I think we all know the story pretty well. Jonah was told by God to go to Nineveh. He was not feeling that option. I actually looked this up, like, why did Jonah not want to go to Nineveh? And it really boiled down to the fact that Jonah was judgy. Jonah had seen the fact that Nineveh had been out there with the sorcery, the witchcraft, the wickedness, the living life as if God was not certain, having multiple gods, really laughing in his face. And so Jonah was offended on the behalf of God by the actions of this particular city and felt that they did not deserve the warning, the prophecy that God had placed into Jonah. God had told Jonah to go out to Nineveh and warn them that in 40 days, God's wrath was going to come down on the city if they did not turn away. They needed to wear sackcloth, they needed to fast and to pray. Jonah felt like he had the authority to do something other than listen to God. How many times do we do this and find ourselves in shambles? So Jonah gets this call. I mean, God didn't call him on the phone, but let's just, pretend. So Jonah, so God's like, hey Jay, what's up? What up, big G, only G, original G, OG, how you doing? And he's like, I'm a little heartbroken. I need you to do me a favor, go out, talk to my kids because they need to get in line. If not, I'm going to have to unleash my wrath. And that actually pains me more than you know. Jonah's like, I think you should do it. You've been warning them forever. Why would I go down there, face the opportunity of danger, all so he can save some ungrateful kids? Jonah decides he's gonna outrun the word of God. He decides to go down to the docks. He gets a ticket for a boat. I believe that the boat was going out to Tarshish. A storm comes upon the boat, and we're talking like hurricane type winds from the way they are being rocked back and forth from the description in the Bible. They are troubled. They are so concerned for their safety that they start throwing out cargo on the side of the boat, trying to get themselves in a position where they can find their way back to land. I thought about this for a moment. All of the calls that we get and how our response impacts other people without us even realizing it. So Jonah's no caused these fishermen to now be impacted by the fact that they were losing cargo. There had been money that they were losing out on. That's time that they're losing out on. The structure of the boat itself is now compromised. They might have had to throw over food. We don't really know. But I thought about the fact that those gentlemen on that boat who had nothing to do with Jonah's decision were now in the full experience of the consequences of Jonah's decision. Jonah, meanwhile, is downstairs, knocked out in the hold, asleep, catching those completely and totally unfazed by what's going on around this boat. Everybody else in the boat comes down and they're like, it's giving concerning because why aren't you afraid of what's happening around us? This boat is about to sink if we can't withstand this storm. And looks out and he's like, oh yeah, no, it's rough out here. They cast these lots and their gods let them know because of the lots that it's Jonah. Jonah's the drama. Jonah's starting to feel disheartened, guilty about the fact that he had brought this storm to them, tells them, hey, I know you want me to pray to God, but why don't you just toss me out? That can be my sacrifice. Toss me overboard and then you won't have to worry about this. So they're trying again to row this boat and finally they're like, this is not working. We are all going to die if we continue this on. Hey, Jonah's Jesus. Jonah's God. New here, but just wanted to say that we are so sorry. You have a very good reason for bringing this storm upon Jonah. He told us okay, that he was running from you. We don't agree. We're not in agreement with that. As a matter of fact, we want to submit him back to you so you can do whatever it is that you were going to do, but please have mercy on us. And they tossed Jonah overboard. I don't know why that's funny to me. But wait. One more side note. I also love how even though our no to what God is asking us impacts other people, can still be knitted together for the good of any of those who believe in him, because think about the fact that that was the first time that everybody on that boat other than Jonah prayed. That was the first time they were introduced to God. And immediately after they said that prayer, they chucked Jonah off the side of that boat and the storm ceased. They described themselves as being awestruck by the power of God. There was no way after an encounter like that, they were able to go on with just their regular life. You know that Jonah gets swallowed up by a giant fish. Some people say, well, my Bible said fish. It could be many things. We haven't even explored the sea like that to even know to this day what it was. Either way, he was in there for 3 days and 3 nights. I bet that was nasty. The smell. Finally, he came to Jesus and he was like, I was upset. I was frustrated. I was going through some things. But who am I to tell you no? Who am I to think that I know better? So he said his prayer. He asked God for forgiveness. He thanked God for pulling him out of certain death. And he told God that he was ready to do his will. Jonah does. He tells people of what's coming, what he has heard from God. They put on their sackcloth, they pray, they fast, and they're spared. But one of the things that I really thought about is how we frustrate ourselves because we believe that we know better. When dealing with the frustrations that we have around God, I have found that you have to address the root. What are you mad about? Because chances are you aren't really mad at God. There are things that you could be mad about, like choices that he made. There are some deep things that happen in life. There are so many things that cause you to have true anger at God. The first thing that you need to do if you want to address the frustration, right? Because some of the impact of frustration is creating an opportunity for you to be a Jonah and run from the word of God because you're not understanding what you're seeing and you're not liking what you're hearing as a next step. Instead of putting yourself in a position to create more distance between yourself and your understanding of God, you need to address what the root of it is. I moved here officially 2 months ago, and there have been a lot of changes. I received some job news that was really unexpected and has put me in a position to be really uncertain about outcome. I am walking moment to moment, minute to minute with God on this next step. There have been so many promises attached to the arrival of this new place and this new space that I felt myself drifting further and further away from the things that I'd already seen come to pass. And so I needed to take a moment to remember the times where there were yeses. Remember the times where the promises showed up. I was writing in my journal and I was talking about how Sarah Jakes Roberts has, the preacher, you know her, right? We know her, especially on this big channel. We know her. She had kind of shifted the way that she was doing her podcast, Woman Evolve, and she was allowing parts of the quote unquote delegation. So really just the folks who were listeners or consider themselves a part of the sisterhood of Woman Evolve to be able to come and join her on her podcast to talk about a theme, to talk about their life experiences, and then to lend their support to someone else. As soon as I heard that announced, I knew that I wanted that opportunity, not only to do all of the things that I mentioned before, but also to share with Sarah Jakes Roberts how important her messages, Woman Evolve, have been to the growth of my walk. I wrote that message down in like maybe August of 2021. It was September of 2022 when that podcast episode was released. God makes promises. At the time that I was writing it down, I was thinking that I was absolutely going to get it right away, but I didn't. And I didn't even ask her just the once. I submitted my application 2 times because I was that sure that I had something to say and that sure that there was no reason that God wouldn't grant this particular prayer. And it happened not on my time, but on his. And there was something so personal, so specific about September 21st for me that I knew that that was absolutely a "this is for you" love note moment between God and myself. When you're thinking about frustration, you have to remember the yeses. You have to remember the moments where he showed up. You make your memorials there, because that is what is going to carry you through those ebbs and flows of what the journey has for you. I talked about this a little earlier in the video when God convicted me to study Jonah. The idea between obedience and sacrifice, I think it really just clicked for me. And I understood that we know that phrase, that obedience is better than sacrifice, because obedience is speaking to the heart and sacrifice is speaking to the action. God is more focused on the intention. So although I was still making videos and being very thoughtful about those videos, I found myself making less. I wrote this book that I still haven't published yet because I'm exhausted by the idea of having to go through the whole process of proofreading and finding the right people around it. But it's not about me. It's not for my shine. It's not for my glory. Why do I care about views? Why do I care about the work? I should be thrilled, and I truly am, because I'm back to that space. God chose me to do that. God gave that to me. We are able to walk through this exchange together, and potentially he can use me to help 1 or 2 or 3 or 50 of his children in a moment or in a lifetime. I think that's incredibly beautiful. I think that's an incredible gift. And how dare I be focused on the sacrifice instead of focused on the obedience? Being a Christian means that there will be some sacrifices at some times, but God is always going to be more concerned about the heart behind it. He's always going to be looking at what your heart posture is. Are you seeking his hand? Are you seeking his heart? Are you focused on his will? Are you trying to get your way? You got to be honest about it. Frustration is a symptom. What's going on with your heart? I hope this is helpful for you. I've been wanting to do more conversational style videos. I've been wanting to be more open about just what experiences are in the moment, because at any given moment, we are all in transition. We are all experiencing some new level of growth. I hope. I see a lot I'm getting a little emotional. I see a lot on TikTok and these other social media areas where people are attacking Christians and they're attacking beliefs and religious systems. I see people who want to identify as spiritual instead of call themselves Christian. And there's a lot of me that understands that it doesn't take much to see why you would say that when you have people who are manipulating and doing disgusting things with the word of God in order to push forth their agenda, in order to oppress other people. There are systems that really are evil, in my opinion. But when I think about the goodness of God, not to sound all, I just think about how good he has been, no matter what depravity, no matter what ugliness, no matter what mistakes I've made, there's still so much love and so much goodness and so much redemption. I want to be a living witness to that, a testimony to that. That's why that I know that there are moments of frustration, because sometimes it's an attack of the enemy, sometimes it's an attack of the ego. But no matter what, we're going to continue walking. We're going to continue moving forward, because that is the point of community. That is the point of being a Christian, to love better, to love each other. I love you, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.